What's up, vape fam? Hope everyone's doing good tonight. Decided that we would do more mesh. I've never done a live build stream where all we built up were mesh rebuildables. Figured that would be something cool to do, especially given that the first live review was this right here, the Kylan M tank. Still really digging this thing. It's kind of blown me away how much I really like this. But mesh is one of those things that it's very love-hate in kind of the rebuildable community. Either you love it or you hate it. And I think most people can agree it does really well in sub-ohm tanks, sub-ohm coils. Mesh is pretty much the way to go with those. You don't really see too many actual wire pre-built coil heads anymore. Most of them nowadays are mesh. But in a rebuildable, they're a little finicky. So a lot of people either don't like them for that reason, or people that do rebuildables want kind of a warmer, hotter vape, at least for a lot of people. And mesh just does not provide that. One thing I think mesh is extremely good for is introducing people to rebuildables. A lot of times, kind of just the whole thing with coils, the pulsing and pinching, cutting your leg leads, making sure that's right. All that kind of stuff can be a little intimidating for new people in vaping that are interested in rebuildables. Mesh is a very easy way to get into that side of things. Let you get your feet wet, get the basic, kind of thing that's going on, get that down on what you need to do. It kind of gives you an idea about wicking, things like that. Then when you jump into coils, for one, the wicking is a lot easier for the most part. And really, as we all know, pulsing and pinching, cutting your leg leads, stuff like that is really no big deal. But mesh just provides that little bit more comfortable, little easier, less to do with the actual coil or mesh piece itself. Just makes the whole introduction a little bit lighter on somebody new. What's going on in chat? Paul Pittman, what's up, brother? Mowgli, how's it going? Tasting Clouds flavor reviews. The mesh has grown on me over the last 2 years. That's awesome, man. I like it when mesh grows on people. Mr. Free, I love it when I don't hate it because I just burned my throat open. Yeah, cotton collapse is definitely an issue with mesh. It was one of the things I loved mesh so much as far as the flavor, because when I first got into DIY, the liquids that I liked to actually make up were generally lemonades, lemon candy flavors, just some straight lemon lime, actually trying to make it taste as authentic as I could to actually just eating a lemon or lime slice, things like that. So mesh just presents those a little bit better. It's a little bit easier on your throat for those types of profiles, being that it's a cooler vape. When you kind of mix those heavy, almost harsh citrus flavors also with heat, it makes it even more harsh, things like that. So I always thought mesh presented that a little bit better. But the cotton collapse really pissed me off starting out. So I did everything I could to figure out why cotton collapse happened, what could be done to avoid it. And I was never really scared about the cotton thing, or not scared, but I was never worried about having to use a ton of cotton. And I remember just always thinking if I could just shove enough cotton underneath that mesh strip, it would be extremely difficult for that to fall away no matter how saturated it got. Turned out, I was kind of wrong. It definitely can fall away. But the more mesh you have in there, the more early warnings, or the more cotton you have under the mesh, there we go, the more early warning signs you get about cotton collapse is about to happen than you would with just a standard 6mm cotton strip. All right, so what we're going to take a look at today is some of my favorite mesh atomizers. For one, the profile RDTA and RDA setup. Got it on top of the top side light. This is the last one that I have that actually still works. I had 3 other ones and they have all slowly but surely crapped out on me. Sorteal's bona fide mesh wicking method was the liberation with mesh. Well, good, I'm glad. Heck yeah. Then we're also going to take a look at another profile. It is the Profile X. Now, when I first did a review on this, I actually spread some misinformation. I said that Joel Robinson, Mr. Just Right One, had nothing to do with this, or I'd heard a ton of rumors saying that basically he didn't have a whole lot to do with this, and that Watofo wanted to do it. He wanted to do something else. That part of it is true, but the design of this and anything with the profile name is a Joel Robinson design. They can't really put the profile name on it unless it's something that he's designed. That's the way I understand it, at least. But the X, I was a little worried about it at first because I'd heard the wicking on it was so finicky. But once you get it down, and a lot of other people wick it just straight the same way as you would most mesh RTAs. I've done that before and it does not work very well. But the way that I do it and the way I've seen a couple of other people do it, it works extremely well. And I actually kind of want to go back and try different mesh RTAs similar to the way that I wick this. It looks a little funky, but trust me, it works. And I'll kind of explain why it works so well once we actually start to wick this one up. We're also going to do the Dead Rabbit M. This was kind of one that I was like, well, maybe we'll do it if we got enough time. But then I thought building mesh is pretty fast and straightforward. The wicking and kind of cutting the cotton is really the longest part to it. So figure we'll definitely do 4. Fourth one we're going to do is the Ponte. I've built this up on live streams before, but I needed to rebuild this and I wanted to use it in the stubby. So figured we'd go ahead and do that on the live stream. If we have enough time, given how quickly it kind of can go with building up mesh, we may also do this right here, the Hadron Mesh RDTA. This is a dual mesh deck. I really like that one. It's one of the warmest mesh vapes I've probably ever come across. All right, so what's everybody vaping on tonight? What's up, Izzy? I'm doing good. I have still been vaping on this right here. It is the Pandemic 30 on top of the Chaos. I've got my butter cookie custard in this. It tastes so good on this one. I actually use the kind of slotted airflow, just the 2 bottom slotted airflow, which is a little weird because normally, and I've said it in videos before, I'm not huge on slotted airflow, but a lot of times because it whistles or it's kind of disruptive. But in the case of this right here, it's not disruptive at all, and it definitely doesn't whistle. Love the flavor off this thing. It has some of the best flavor of a 30mm atomizer I've ever come across. See what else is up on the smorgasbord? Of course, the Kylan M. Still have my not quite so plain Jane strawberry milkshake in this. I'm really happy with it, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to post the recipe to this, to all the flavors, probably tomorrow, maybe the next day. Also still vaping on the Helheim S30. This right here has my almond berry angel food cake, which is like basically it's a angel food cake with strawberries, cream cheese icing, and then a little bit of almonds. The actual cake has the almonds just kind of around the base and the top on the outside, so you don't get a whole lot of almond, but just that little bit that's there is really good. And this, I tried my best to mimic that. Still vaping great, still wicking great. Then the other thing I've been vaping on is this right here, the Fat Rabbit. We built it up a couple of live streams ago. Got it on top of the M Dura Pro. Put one of the nitrous orange drip tips on top. It actually works really good on this, and I love just the whole look. The black Fat Rabbit, all accented in orange. I've got my Vanilla Sex of Ice Cream version 2 in here. Paul, you got that almond berry public? Yeah, I think I named it almond berry angel food cake. Is up on all the flavors, not ELR, because I just don't really post ELR. I've just never been a fan of the layout, but it is up on all the flavors. If you just search for Sorteal, you can go through the recipes and find it. Pretty easy. It's one of the newer public ones that I've done up. That is pretty much it on what I've been vaping on for the most part. Always have my Dead Rabbit 3 and Dreamer 1.5 all set up with my vanilla overdose custard, but it is in the other room. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. I want to do up the profile. This one right here. This is just the profile RDTA, but it has that nice versatility where you can actually take the tank off. There is a base that screws on to another 510 that pops out. And then you can just use it as a straight RDA. I've got squonk pin in there. I love this atomizer. The profile RDTA is probably one of my top three, maybe four, probably three. Probably my third favorite atomizer ever made. Really dig this one. And like I said, got it on top of the top side light. Last working one that I have. When this one goes out, I'm going to cry. I'm not going to be happy. I really wish they would re-release this or maybe do a V2 of the topside light, because I like this so much better than the other two topsides. Not better than the topside SQ, the mechanical mod, but as far as the regulated ones, this one is easily my favorite. All right, there's our deck. You still, of course, have the holes where the stainless steel wicking rods go. This also is the style of deck that right there and right there, you have leg lead inserts and you have individual grub screws for those leg lead inserts. It is side airflow, so actually putting coils in this works extremely well. They are really nice to put in here. You can get some really good flavor off of coils. I was very, very shocked by that. All right, I'm not going to show you hitting that White Wolf tonight. Love that stuff. Nice. All right, I'm going to use Watofo's Extreme Mesh, which is my favorite mesh of all time. It is like a woven mesh, so they kind of think about a woven basket. This is just mesh done up that way. Really, really nice. It's kind of stiff for mesh, but it has a lot of surface area. So yeah, this is my favorite mesh that has ever come out. So this is what we're going to use. Tool that I'm going to use for bending and shaping tonight is this right here. This comes from the Hadron dual mesh RDTA is what they call it, because, you know, Steam Crave has to name everything their own little thing. So we'll bend this over, make sure it's as straight as you can get it across there. You don't really want it like that or like that. Try and get it as perfect as you can. With the extreme mesh, it's not going to matter a whole lot. It's not really going to bend it super crazy. You're going to have this huge kind of arch just because it is so thick. These are not spring loaded, so you do have to kind of pull them back. I have a specific juice that I absolutely love in a mesh RTA or sub-ohm tank, which is Coastal Clouds Melon Berries. That sounds extremely good just by the name. All right. There we go. Want to make sure it's in there straight. Well, not going to want to stay now. Probably going to have to clamp down one side and then kind of tuck the other in. That's usually what I have to do with this one, at least when I'm using the extreme mesh. Pop that other side open. Might back it out a little bit more. There we go. I think that got it. Yeah. Looks pretty straight for the most part. Take a look at it a little up close. Yeah, it looks good. Go ahead and glow it. Again, like I said with the Kylan M, and I'm sure most of you guys know, definitely don't want to glow it with too high wattage. Actually, I'm going to do 15. It's a little slower to glow with the extreme mesh. You can actually use a little bit higher wattage in this. I probably could have done this up to 20. Yeah, there we go. All right. That is about all you need right there. Then we're going to wick it up. I'm going to use kind of my insane wicking method. I voted only to close the poll. Let it be noted I hate mesh, but support my brothers and sisters regardless. Nice. Like I said in the beginning, mesh is definitely love-hate. For sure. Alright. So with this, the amount of cotton that I use makes some people like want to faint. It is about that much. So I'm essentially, you know, one of these you could rip in half and use for a dual coil RDTA. So it's almost a 6mm strip just by itself. And I'm folding it over and pretty much doubling it. Seems insane. It actually works really well. Just takes a minute to get the kind of portion all twisted up that you're going to feed underneath the mesh there. All right, maybe, hopefully. You just want to make sure when you're feeding it through, you don't want this portion on like the top. You want to make sure, pull down like that. Sometimes I actually have to use tweezers, but I think I can get this one. Maybe. I don't think it took the other portion. Hang on. Nope. Definitely gonna have to use tweezers. A little bit of a pain to do this, but the payoff in the end is definitely worth it. Get our tweezers ready. There we go. So yeah, it's a monster strip of cotton. All right, grab scissors. So now you always see whenever anyone has like a mesh wick job on a review or something like that, they generally cut it this way. And I'm not sure why, really. Actually, I am sure why, because a lot of companies have wicking videos where that's the way they show you how to do it. Or in kind of the manual, it shows you doing it or how you should do it as that way. But I normally do it in the reverse, so kind of like this, where it's at this kind of angle, the long section is up top, because I want that long section to be pulling the juice up and get it underneath this mesh. The other way, it's kind of pulling up to the base of the cotton and then has to soak through the rest of it. That's when you kind of get, you know, a little bit of issue getting it to wick just right every time. Not like that. We'll definitely trim it up more. And really with this, considering I'm going to squonk with it, I could honestly cut it straight and it wouldn't really matter too much. Because when you squonk, it's coming up directly underneath the mesh right there. A little bit of a haircut underneath, and then we're going to cut some more of this. Not like that. Let's see, I probably don't even need that much on this. Top light looks fine. If I give you mine, you'll have 2 and I'll have 0. Unless you have a Jenna or drone. I do have a Jenna, but I'm not willing to part with it. All right, let's see if this is too much or just enough. I think it's going to be just enough. Well, I have the Jenna RDA, not the RTA. I don't know too many people that have the RTA. I don't think many of those were made if I'm correct. Grab one of these. Getting a little finicky with the wick here, even though I don't really need to with this. Kind of just shove them down in there and you're good to go. Because like I said, that liquid's coming straight up underneath the mesh there. So the wick wells are really not a huge thing with this. All right, so with this one, actually when I did this right here up, the Kylan M, like I said, it had my strawberry milkshake in here. And normally I don't really do creams or bakeries or custards, ice creams, things like that in mesh usually. Sub-ohm coils are a little bit different, but for the most part, I usually stick to fruits, things like that. Sometimes fruits and creams are okay, like strawberries and cream or things like that. But I think I'm actually going to use my strawberry whipped cheesecake. I love this recipe. This is up on all the flavors as well. I think this might be the first recipe I posted. I brought over from ELR to all the flavors was this one right here. So we're gonna try it. Actually, I probably need to shake it. It is not that, it's not that old. It's a baby. Brody, what's going on, brother? All right. So the one thing, you know, everyone's like, oh, mesh uses too much liquid, blah, 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 blah. It really doesn't. The only time I think at least it uses more liquid is this right here, kind of getting it all saturated. You will use more liquid than you probably usually would with, say, a dual coil RDA, because it just keeps sucking it up, basically. That's what she said. So yeah. But after that, it really doesn't use any more liquid than a dual coil RDA setup, kind of built up at low resistance. Really doesn't. And actually, that didn't take long at all. Crank this wattage up some. Resistance came out to 0.12, which about where it should be. With mesh, I've noticed, especially the extreme mesh, it's always rated for 0.16, and it almost never comes out to that. I swear, I think their rating on a lot of these packages is off. I've never had an extreme mesh strip come out to 0.16. It's always 0.12, 0.13. All right. Since this is a squonk, I'm not going to, normally I would juice and fire this for a while just to make sure it's completely saturated and all that. But given the fact that we are doing squonk, I'm not too terribly worried about it. I can always press the squonk bottle when I'm ready to get more liquid. So not too worried about it. All right. Top cap, unfamiliar. It is side airflow. Does have airflow control where you can cut down a row at a time, hole at a time. Kind of got that shorter on the top and bottom, one hole extra length or two hole extra length in the middle. I like the profile branding. I know some people don't like branding at all when it comes to a rebuildable atomizer, but like the profile, I actually like its branding. It's kind of like the Dead Rabbit. I don't mind the Dead Rabbit logo. I kind of like that, so it doesn't bother me at all. Sometimes branding can be annoying. Not a huge fan of the dang as far as just the branding where it kind of looks almost like graffiti art, and then I'm not so keen on that one. But for the most part, I don't have any kind of problem with branding unless it's just a crazy amount, when it's like, here's the name of it, and then it says something there, and then more shit on the back, and then more shit on the side. That's a little nuts. All right, let's jump back up top. But yeah, for something like this, and I mean, it's pretty much murdered out for the most part, but if you get some of the other colors, you can see it a lot better. I just don't mind it all that much at all. All right, go ahead, lock this down. This is very good for flavor, but if you get that dry hit, oh my God, yeah. Well, dry hits, I don't think are all that much different on mesh than they are like a dual coil RDA. If I just vape this down to a point it got dry and then got that kind of pull off of it, it's not going to be all that much different. I think one thing you really need to think about, you can't crank the wattage up on mesh like crazy. I think even some mesh that says it's rated for like 80 watts, just don't. It's too much. You're going to vaporize too much liquid. It's never going to be able to keep up, unless maybe you're squonking. But if you get that cotton collapse hit, that is the worst thing in vaping, in my opinion. I'm going to start this out about 55, and we'll see how that does. It should do just fine, honestly. Let's take a look at this squonk action. So yeah, when you're squonking it, it's just coming straight from underneath. Easily saturates all the cotton. I can smell this like heavy. This, I'm actually looking forward to this. The strawberry whipped cheesecake here, I can already really smell it. All right. Sorteal, do you like that mesh? You talking about this, the one I'm using, the Watofo Extreme Mesh? This is my favorite mesh I've ever come across. You were dead on with the Dead Rabbit solo. Area as hell. Even dialed it in. Doesn't match the nitrous and flavor. Clouds for days though. Perhaps it's my coil. I don't know. I really think it's where they cut out to actually put in your airflow control is kind of cut out. I think that just plays into the airiness a little bit. They didn't need as many rows as they had. They could have cut that down with the Dead Rabbit Solo if it had more like the Dead Rabbit 2 kind of airflow, but you could cut it down kind of a row at a time, even though there's only 2 rows. Airflow on that would have been probably perfect. But as it is, it's just a little too airy. But yeah, Izzy, the Extreme Mesh from Watofo, I think is the best mesh I've ever come across. All right, let's have a vape here. Yeah, Cicero, I agree. 3 rows was not needed on a single coil Dead Rabbit atomizer. All right, I'm gonna crank this up some. 55 is just not quite enough, but 60 probably is. So that's another thing. I don't like jump huge amounts in wattage when it comes to mesh. Even like basically going 5 watts up on mesh to me is like going 10 or 15 watts up on coils. Yeah, that's really good. Very cool. I mean, it's mesh. But I'm getting this whipped cheesecake through and through. Like, the one thing I'll say, the cheesiness of the cheesecake is usually pretty heavy in this recipe, and it's just not quite as heavy as it normally would be vaping it on mesh. It's good. The strawberry element to it is really up front, and the graham cracker crust is definitely there more than it usually is. But the cheesiness of the actual cheesecake itself, a little on the lighter side than if I was vaping this on coils, but also kind of that whipped cream element, that whipped cheesecake type of flavor just isn't quite as punchy as it is on coils, but it's still extremely good. I'm really enjoying this. Yeah. So yeah, the profile RDTA in RDA setup, I really think is kind of like the profile V2 basically, because I mean the deck changed so much. You had the wider mesh strips. They did 1.5 that had those wider mesh strips, but the whole setup of it just works better in the RDTA than it does in the 1.5. Plus the airflow, I like a little bit better with the 1.5. You have those larger holes, and sometimes the liquid kind of gets jammed up in those. Also, it'll whistle. The profile 1.5, certain settings on the airflow, it'll whistle like crazy, but with this one and the original, not at all. If I could protect the topside light mod more, how would you? Gonna disassemble it, silicone around the chipset and vent. I'm not sure how I would do it to protect it a little bit more. As I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about as far as liquid getting down in there, which it just always does eventually. I think I would have tried to isolate the 510 here where the liquid's actually coming up. Tried to isolate it a little bit more from that board. Something like you're talking about with some silicone from the chipset might do well just to keep the liquid from getting down in this portion, because the board's pretty much right here. Then it has a connection going to the 510, but it's very much open right here in this portion of it. So like once you kind of pop the board out, that's very much open. So as soon as you start to get any kind of liquid buildup around that actual 510 area, it can easily drain down into there. I would try to use something to cut that off, seal that off as much as I could. Yeah, this is really good. All right, set this off to the side. I'm still gonna vape on it because that's just one of my favorite setups ever. So every so often I'm probably gonna stop and then take a pull or two. See here, have you ever seen the Cthulhu Iris? It's an older mesh RDA. It does single or dual vertical mesh. I have one. Like a lot on my stuff. I haven't built it yet. One of these days. Yeah, I'm familiar. Well, is it the Iris? I think that's the one. It's like the vertical where they're like this, right? And is it? Maybe I'm not thinking of the Iris. I've got one around here somewhere that is a dual mesh vertical. Let's see pictures of the Iris. One that is a dual mesh vertical that has clamps that come in and kind of press that cotton in there. And I don't know. I was not a fan of it. I was not a fan of a lot of the early attempts to do mesh, like either that way or some of them had it where it was round and then you tuck the cotton down in the middle of it and then you were just dripping down onto the cotton. Not good either. Really, it wasn't until the profile with that spring-loaded deck, which is just such a simple idea, but it works so well. Although it didn't work perfectly because you got cotton collapse pretty easy. But Brody, I'd have to look that one up and see. Actually, let me just do that real quick. And see if it's the one that I have. No, it is not the one that I have. I don't think I can get in trouble here. No. Well, maybe there's URLs all over the place. Maybe let me grab just an image so we can all see what Brody's talking about. But this is not the one that I have. Here we go. Wham. Oh shit, right there. All right. All right. But yeah, no, I'm not familiar with that one at all, but I've got a couple that are somewhat similar to that. One that is dual mesh, that they are straight up like that. It has two clamps straight up like that. And then it has side cotton clamps. And I can't remember who the hell made that one. And then there's another one that is a single mesh strip that's clamped. And then there's another clamp that pushes the cotton up against it. I want to say that I can't remember who the hell made that, and now it's going to drive me crazy. Hang on. They just keep showing the Vandy Vape V1. Which to me looks like a atomizer that just was never finished. It looks like a prototype. Well, there's that Cthulhu again. That's not it. I'm not going to waste the whole stream looking for this thing, but we're digging it out. But it was kind of interesting. You guys may know what I'm talking about. The what was it? What was the damn vape one? The Intense. It was somewhat similar to what I'm talking about. One of the few reviewers that actually likes mesh. Yeah, well, I think Wendy likes mesh. Pretty sure. Tip: use the spare springs from mesh RDAs like the profile on your T-clamp RDAs like the Ghoul and the Hermetic. Lace the clamp screw with the spring, bam, upgrade. Yeah, nice. That's really good. I may actually get more of that cheesecake kind of cheesiness out of this once the cotton fully breaks in. So not going to pass judgment on how well it does the strawberry whipped cheesecake till a little bit later in the stream. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Profile X. Top cap. I really like the look of this. It was a lot bigger than the Profile M, although I dig the Profile M big time. But this one is starting to grow on me to the point I might like it better than the M. Airflow control, it's all top airflow, which is one of the reasons why it's not super great when it comes to using coils. Just off here. It's kind of tight, like as far as unscrewing it and screwing it down. Maybe it's just mine. There is mesh already in this one, but we're going to swap it out. Undo this. The mesh actually still looks really good. Not bad at all. But we're going to go ahead and swap it out. That is the extreme mesh as well. So this one is extremely similar to the deck on the one that we just did. So it uses the wider cotton strips. You do have leg lead inserts for coils, individual grub screws for coils, and the one in the center is obviously for the clamp itself. The one thing I really dig about this is it uses kind of that opened window. So your wicks are down in here and they're exposed to the inside of the tank. It's kind of like the Fatality M25, but it does not have juice flow control. This one does not have juice flow control. But you don't really want that with mesh, because one of the things with wicking mesh in an RTA is it just has a hard time keeping up with wicking when you can't just kind of oversaturate it like you could with dripping or with squonking. But doing it this way with such a large opening, it works beautiful. The ridiculous over branding on the Profile X made me pass on it. Then the Watofo missed the over branding memo. They definitely do. They also miss the like, hey, you probably shouldn't stick URLs all over the place if you want reviewers to be able to show your product packaging. For the most part, if I get something from Watofo, I can't show the package, period. Because they just have their URLs splashed all over the place. The Dead Rabbit M dry hit. Oh. All right. I got this bent. I use this again from the Hadron. This is actually the best mesh bending tool I've ever come across because of this right here. It's the same rod, they just kind of cut out a big portion of it right there, or it was molded like that. And this allows you to get up under the mesh and shape it exactly the way it's supposed to be when you bent it. A lot of them have, you know, kind of this deal, and then the Watofo one has a little piece coming out of the center that's way smaller than the actual part of the bar that you use to bend the mesh. So at that point, you still end up kind of janking up the mesh by trying to straighten it out with that little bar. With this, it's the same overall curvature that you use to actually bend your mesh. See what that looks like. Needs to be shaped a little bit, but pretty damn straight. This is not something that normally happens. I'm just getting extremely lucky tonight. Normally I have some mesh that's off, or let's see, it just bends it almost perfect. Just using that right there because it's the same arch. Love this tool. Everybody just needs to copy what Steam Crave did there. All right. Crank this down some. We'll do 20 since it is. And look, again, 0.12. Says it should be 0.16. It's never 0.16. It's always 0.12, 0.13. Even after glowing, it doesn't really matter. And that's about it. Still 0.12. All right, on this one, I'm going to do the same wicking technique because I want that. I want the wick underneath the mesh to be extremely thick. But because of the way you have to wick this one up, I will really give this thing a haircut once it's in here. Dave Lloyd, what's up, brother? Love mesh? Hell yes. All right. Just twisting up my cotton. Sorry, not much is going on the up close cam, but it's because I really have to kind of get this going. Think maybe that's got it. We're going to get our tweezers ready to go right off the bat this time. Not have to pull it back through. If I think maybe this time I might not need it. As you're pulling it through, you definitely want to push down on this end to kind of recess that spring-loaded deck. This one is a little bit tighter because that spring-loaded deck is just really pushed up in the Profile X. I think that's got us, again, our gigantic thing of cotton. I know it looks like I'm insane, but it works. All right. And again, we're going to do it where instead of cutting it this way, we're going to cut it this way because it works much, much better. There we go. Look, we still even have enough cotton we could wick like a wasp nano. Set that off to the side. Again with this one. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but doing it this way where it's longer on top, you're drawing the liquid up underneath the mesh. When you do it the other way, it's first drawing it up to the base of your cotton down here, and then it has to soak through. This way, you get kind of the fastest portion of the liquid being channeled upwards directly under the mesh first. All right, now here's the weird part with this one. You want to give it kind of a crazy haircut. You really do. You want just a thin strip, about like that. I may even cut a little bit more of that off there. And then the rest of it, cut it kind of as close to the mesh in that deck as you can. Seems insane, and it is kind of a pain in the ass with this one, but it really works. So you see, that's kind of how you got it. very thin strip up here. But once you tuck this all down in here, this portion of it is sitting right up against that. So as it pulls liquid up, where it's sitting here against this cotton that you've just kind of given a buzz cut, it's still going to soak into that, but we want it to get under the mesh first and foremost. And when you wick it the way that I've done here, it's normally pretty easy to get, to just kind of pull it up, get one of the other halves of that cotton that you just pulled through and kind of cut it first. Makes everything just a little bit easier. You don't have just one giant hunk you're trying to cut everything off of. I think this is probably going to be pretty good. Definitely going to cut it some more at least. This side's still a little bit too thick. All right, I think that's good. We have a mess of cotton everywhere. It's really like giving it a haircut. You end up with just a huge pile. But now they're really thin for mesh at least. Kind of have bunny ears going on. Then what we're going to do is see how much we got here. Honestly, it's about perfect. It looked like it was going to be way too much, judging by how it tucked down in here. So it's going to puff out from under here. But if you can see, you can really move that wick around. It's not tight in there by any stretch. This one may be a little bit different because I think it's a little bit longer. I still think this is going to work as well. Yeah, I think that should work. Looks a little strange, but it works extremely well. All right, for this one, what am I going to use? Actually, I know what I'm going to use. Let's use Juice Heads Watermelon Lime. This was kind of one when the whole like vape mail ban dealio came around. I have to try and do this and hide the URL here, but this and Candy King's Lemon Drops, along with Vapetasia's Pink Lemonade, and Milk of the Poppy. I ordered a ton, an absolute ton, especially the lemon drops. I think I ordered like over 100 bottles of lemon drops. Crank my wattage up a little bit. It's still reading 0.12. This one I am going to kind of juice and fire for a little while just because I want it to kind of soak all the way through that cotton and also get that wicking action really going. That's Catch Replay. 5 a.m. comes fast. Dave Lloyd, thanks for just popping in, brother. All right. I'm going to stop it about there, I think. I think we'll probably do pretty good right there. And then we'll let it sit if we have to. But we'll go ahead. Tank down. Screw it on real good. As you can see the wicks extremely well. Jump back up top. I'll fill this up. We will have a vape. It is a quarter turn quick release. You can remove the AFC ring. And one thing, actually, let me show you this, that I like about this is it's so concave. So like when you're filling this up, you don't really have to worry too much about overfilling because the only where it can go is down after you have kind of overfilled it a little bit. I really dig that. I wish more RDAs or RTAs, I mean, had that going on. Turn that around a little bit. YouTube doesn't scream at me. All right. Start out about 50 watts. Here we go. That's just wide open. I'm going to cut it down. Got about 40–45% cut off. That's really good. The thing will be, does it wick? Kind of one of those things where, I don't know. I think we had it done well, and I'm seeing bubbles, so I think we're good. Just want to make sure those top strips are really thin for mesh, but probably closer to like how a coil or dual coil wicks coming off there would look like, not the huge clump of mesh that you would normally see. Otherwise, this thing just will not wick. It's just too much wick. You definitely don't want to do it the standard way where you kind of cut it long underneath, because it won't wick very good that way either. Yeah, this is really good. This watermelon lime always comes through amazing on a mesh rebuildable. No dry hit so far. This RTA has grown on me more and more. When I first got it, I was a little like, it's got too much of a finicky wick job needed for it to really work. Just not sure gonna like it all that much. Had the same deck, but you couldn't really use coils. I mean, you could, but the airflow on it is all top airflow, so it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of crap flavor-wise when you use coils. So far, it's really good. I almost want to cut it down a little bit more. This RTA has a ton of airflow, so if you like a really airy pull, this is probably the mesh RTA to go for because it just has a ton of it. There we go. Now it's probably about 60% closed off. Garrett, what's up, brother? I have a Siegfried RTA. It's a great mesh RTA. Nice. I've tried that one, but I have not. I don't own one. Yeah, we're getting bubbles, so it's wicking good. It still drives me crazy of who made that old school mesh RDA that had the one strip and then it clamped down the cotton onto it. I want to say Mech Life. Yeah, it's doing great. No dry hits. Crank up the wattage a little bit, see if, make sure it's wicking good. We'll just go ahead and crank it all the way up to 60. Still doing good, just got a big, huge bubble. Let me see if I can catch this on the up close cam. Hang on. Yeah. It's hard to catch it not completely full. Maybe this way. Big bubble. Yeah, it's wicking beautifully. I really like this RTA more and more. It's kind of one of those that had to grow on me. I wasn't super huge on it at first, but as I used it more and more, it's grown on me more and more as I go along. And I am nicked out from this. This is 3 milligram. I normally vape 0.5 milligram. So it's what, 6 times the amount of nicotine that I normally use. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the Ponte. Everybody still awake and with me or no? I know Garrett is. I'll go ahead and pop this out of here. Sister Rose said, I'm here, damn it. I need to get the adapter for this. I don't think I set it out. Give me just a second. Well, oh, it's right here. All right. Mowgli's still here. Nice. All right. So I had to grab the 510 adapter. When I got the Kylan M, I was kind of hoping that one would work with this, but this one is so short, it does not. It does not want to screw down on it. Kind of have to have their specific one. Here's the deck. Uses the smaller mesh strips, of course, similar to the Kylan M and most mesh Boro devices or Boro bridges. Has stainless steel wicking rods. These actually work really well. They don't move, so you don't really have where one of them will kind of get slanted, and then as soon as it does, it doesn't pull juice up as well as the other ones that are straight up and down. These pretty much stay spot on straight up and down. All right. Grab the Hadron. Again, this is not going to take very long. Jason Orr, what's up, brother? Just making sure everybody wasn't asleep. I just pictured like everybody that had been in here talking a minute ago at their computer or in bed looking at their phone, and everybody had just fallen asleep. All right, I'm going to use this right here. It is Next Mesh. It is about the closest thing you can get to woven mesh on these smaller strips. Aside from Vandy Vape actually makes a stainless steel small mesh strip like this that is woven. I do not have any of that though. Go ahead and bend our mesh. This should bend nicely. given that it's the smaller strips and it is not truly woven. I think I clamped these back down after I kind of cleaned it out. Oh, that would be why. Need to grab a flathead. I forgot this one is flathead. There we go. Now you can use a coil with this one. It works great with just a single coil in it. Now, if you've got the first batch of these with kind of the finicky clamps that don't want to hold anything down, it doesn't do so hot with a single coil. But if you got Orca-Vape to send you new ones, or you got maybe the second or third batch of the Ponte, you should be good. There we go. And yeah, if you got the first batch and you've had issues out of the clamps, it's not all of them. Not like every single one in that first batch is just crap. Just some of them got clamps that were not quite as good as the rest. Whoop. Definitely got to shape it some, but I think it's pretty straight. Yeah, looks straight. It's kind of throwing me off right there, but the clamp is actually a little cockeyed. All right. I don't think this will work with it because it's just too wide. Yeah. So instead, we'll use a screwdriver and just be very, very careful with it. That looks pretty good though. There we go. All right. Again, I'm gonna use the same kind of wicking method. It does work with these smaller strips. Just, you gotta be a little more careful, kind of feeding it through there. Now, sometimes I'll take this and I'm gonna do like that anyway, but I'll tear just a little bit off of the whole strip before I put it through one of these smaller ones. I think that's what we're gonna do here. Maybe about like that. Should do the trick. Fold it over. We still have a huge piece of cotton. It's just a little bit slimmer. So the wicking to the Siegfried is the same as the Vandy Vape Kylan M tank. Very easy. I like that with the Kylan M where I don't really have wick wells. I don't have wick wells. I don't have wicking channels. I just really have to fan the cotton out, put that top cap down on it, and Bob's your uncle. And the gravity feed system in it works extremely well. Anytime I get a gravity fed RTA, I'm always a little leery because there's so many out there that just do not work very well. All right, I'm gonna make sure where it's laid over is like that and not with that kind of sandwich section facing upwards. And again, with this one, you want to push down, but you want to go a little bit slower, just because the mesh strip itself is a little more delicate. All right, there we go. Huge moth of cotton. But this will help to prevent any type of cotton collapse from happening. And again, I'm going to cut it the reverse of the way everybody always cuts these. Because I want that liquid channeled up directly under the mesh instead of to the base of the cotton of the mesh, and then it has to feed through. Probably cut some off of this. Think that'll work. May still be a little bit too long, but we'll find out. No. It is about perfect. Sit down on those stainless steel wicking rods pretty damn well. And these stainless steel wicking rods work better than most. Like I said, they just always stay straight. And I think that's a big thing. Heard other people say they did not think it was really an issue, but I think it is. I think the ones that stay straight wick better. We'll tuck this down a little bit more after we get some liquid on it. All right, so with this one, I'm going to use my multicrum, which is cloudberries and cream. That's really all it is. I didn't even know there was a thing called cloudberries until I went to Sweden and Norway. And while I was in Norway, the guy that was with us recommended that we get multicrum as our dessert. And it's basically, it's a thick ass cream that's in there with just cloudberries. It's an orange berry, looks a lot like a raspberry or blackberry or boysenberry, but it is bright orange, which you guys know me, that was right up my alley. A little bit of a stream of juice there just go flying down the deck. But it is extremely good. It is double cream. That is the cream that's used, which is thicker than clotted cream and thicker than Devon cream. Has more fat in it, basically. That's kind of the difference between all those creams, is fat content. Really the only difference between sour cream, sweet cream, whipped cream, clotted cream, Devon cream. Although Devon cream also deals with the region that it was originally made in. All right, let's see. 0.22. Not what these should have come out to, but we're gonna roll with it. Never seen it come out that high. Try and clamp down on these a little bit more. I did not glow this one, but wasn't super worried about it, honestly. Crank this wattage down. Way down. All right. Go ahead, clean this up just a little bit. All right. Looking good. So yeah, this recipe is up on all the flavors if anyone wants to check it out. It's just multicrum, which is the Norwegian name for it. But yeah, when I had it over there, I was really kind of blown away. When I first saw the dish, I was like, well, this is simple as all hell. I don't know what that orange berry is, but this is just berries and cream. But cloudberries are so sweet that it mixes with that really heavy, thick, fatty cream extremely well. All right, go ahead. We'll go ahead and put our top cap back on here. Oh yeah. Fill it up with some liquid. If I can get this open. This is one thing that's kind of a con. Trying to get that rubber stopper open. There we go. Take it off of here. Honestly, the resistance may have something to do with that adapter. I've noticed that the adapter that this comes with kind of reads the ohms a little wrong sometimes. We'll see once we get it all done up here on the stubby. Looks really good in here. And one thing I love about sticking it in the stubby is the stubby panel already has top airflow. Does of course also have bottom airflow, which I was a little worried that it's got top airflow, but this is kind of built to facilitate bottom to top airflow as well. But the way that this actually does its bottom airflow, it's not kind of coming in from the side over here towards the bottom. So it doesn't really make it to have too much airflow. It does have a little piece that can go over top of this, and you can adjust it a little bit to change out the airflow some, cut it down a little bit, but I always like it just wide open. All right. No atomizer. Uh-oh. see what we did wrong here. Let me double check this 510 pin. It's good. Don't know. Don't know what could be off about this. Sorry, I'm completely off camera. Just trying to get a close-up look at all this. See what was up. There it goes. I don't think it was making good contact with this right here. I just really flipped it over to the other side. Seems like it's working now. Yeah, and its resistance is 0.13, which is where it's supposed to be. So yeah, I think that this adapter actually kind of hinders the reading of the actual resistance, because I mean the Hadron is a DNA, it should be ridiculously accurate. Pretty sure it's that 510 adapter that does it. Started out at 50. Looking good. All right, let's jump back up top, see how it ends up doing. All right, honestly, I use my mesh tanks for 5 puffs or so each, then let them set. Before firing, I close off the airflow and give a few pulls just to be safe. Again, no atomizer. What is going on here? Well, there it goes. Let's see if it stays that way. This time I kind of did it to where I just pushed up at the top. Had this issue once before with the Pulse AIO. And it's just where when you set it in there, it doesn't line up perfectly. Looks like the stubby really notices it. So you just kind of, as you're screwing down that flush nut, kind of lay your thumb and push back towards the top of the Ponte, and that kind of lines it back up. Oh yeah, that's really good. Easily the best flavor ever off of a Boro bridge that I've come across, at least. And you can do pretty much any style of vaping that you want. Mouth to lung is a little weird to kind of get down on any type of mesh. Honestly, you can cut the airflow down with that included kind of insert there and get more of a mouth to lung pull, but it's such a huge hit to flavor when it comes to mesh to do any type of MTL. But restrictive direct lung or direct lung is absolutely amazing. Mowgli, it is Multicrum, which is MULTEKRAM, and it's on all the flavors. Oh, it's really good. I did this up because I saw that with SSA had Scandinavian fruit, and I was pretty sure it was supposed to be a cloudberries flavor, but I was not sure until I got it and then tasted it. It's a little candy-ish. I usually, anytime I use it and I want it to be a little bit more authentic, I'll throw in just a touch, like maybe 1/4% of shisha raspberry from Vape Train, and it makes all the difference. It makes it taste a lot more authentic and natural, a little bit less candied. This is working amazing. I guarantee you now, it seems like anywhere I put the Ponte in as far as device, it stays there for quite a while. And I think it's definitely going to be the case with this. This is only the second time I've used it in the stubby. And the first time it did not stay in here very long because it was kind of during some testing of the stubby itself. So this will probably be the first time it stays in here for a while, but I don't see it leaving anytime soon because the stubby has become easily my favorite Boro device out there, and the Ponte is my favorite Boro bridge. Still working great. It's not. I think that's what it is just when you put it in to get it level so it makes good contact, you need to kind of push up towards the top and then screw your flush nut down and it will make proper contact. Seem to be wicking pretty well too so far. Let's go ahead and crank the wattage up a little bit more. Do 55, see how it does. You never did get that SSA Scandinavian fruit. Definitely need to if you want it to be a little bit more authentic. Like I said, Vape Train Shisha Raspberry solves that issue a little bit. There's a few other raspberries out there that you can add to it that are a little more authentic. Red raspberry from VSO, it will kind of do the same thing to it. Because their flavor is very similar. It's just cloudberries are a little bit more tart and a lot more sweet. Thought it cut out on us there. It might have. No. Yeah, it's doing really good. Flavor off this is just, like I said, it's the best flavor I've ever gotten off a Boro bridge. And it works outstanding with this recipe. This is the first time I've ever tried this recipe with mesh for one, and definitely the first time I've ever tried it in a Boro bridge. And I have to say, it works really well. It almost comes across a little bit more authentic because the punchiness of that Scandinavian fruit is toned down just a little bit in kind of a Boro format. Even most Boro bridges that I say have amazing flavor, you got to keep in mind it's amazing flavor for a Boro bridge. Like if you were going to take that same Boro bridge and say, oh, well, this one has amazing flavor, let's compare it to an RDA that also has amazing flavor. The RDA is going to blow it out of the water because it just is. It's not as compressed down. You have a lot more power you can pump through an RDA. The RDA is going to win out pretty much every single time. I would say every single time against a Boro bridge, but the same can be said with RTAs and RDAs. I personally at least think RDAs win out every single time. Fatality M25 is the closest RTA I can think of that could really compete with some of the great RDAs out there. I wanted to ask if you'd try a regular coil in the Dead Rabbit M 3.5 millimeter if there was time. Heard quite a few people interested, me 100%, and a few that said it rocked. I'm actually sure it probably does. I don't know if I have a 3.5 millimeter coil anywhere at the moment. I could try a 3 millimeter. I could see if I could find the Blaze Solo package. It might have another 3.5 coil in there. I don't have any spools at the moment either, so I can't really wrap my own. But let's go ahead and build up the Dead Rabbit M. with mesh, and then I have so much mesh, you guys. Like these little I can't show it because, you know, Watofo just splashes their URL all over the damn place. But there's 10 mesh strips in each of those packs. And again, when that whole kind of vape mail scare hit, I ordered up so much shit. And I think I've got, I want to say 200 packs of the extreme mesh. Let me see if the bottom has anything on it. So yeah, okay, here we go. So these things right here, they got 10 mesh strips. I have like 200 of these right here. I went insane because I thought, oh shit, I'm never going to be able to order anything new. The US is going to suck. We're never going to be able to get vape gear. So the things I was really digging at the time, mesh being one of them, I ordered up a ton of stuff. I'm back. Probably missed everything. No, you didn't. We're about to do the Dead Rabbit M, and we may do the Hadron dual mesh. Although Mr. Free wants to do a coil in this one. Let's take a look at this. Here's the deck to it. Dead Rabbit M, pretty standard kind of mesh RTA. Does not use the windowed wick system. It kind of has where your wicks dangle down and juice actually flows underneath into those wick wells. It looks like with this one, it flows completely under the deck as well. You can kind of see where it goes all the way across. But that's a good thing, especially with mesh, because you kind of want as much liquid under there as possible to get to your wicks. I like these clamps. Now they are big and fucking beefy. And they are spring loaded. I love. All mesh clamps should be spring loaded. Dig that. The rest of it, if you're unfamiliar, very much like a Dead Rabbit RTA. Top airflow, point it down. That would be my only concern with a coil, but the coil is going to sit high enough that that's probably going to come across more as side airflow than top airflow. I think a coil would work pretty damn well in this. But let's go ahead and build it up with mesh starting out. Uh-oh. Just totally popped out on me. I guess I had it unscrewed a little bit too much. All right. Take our Ponte 510 adapter that was giving us crazy readings off of here. Well, not crazy readings, but way too high. Stick this on here. Yeah, Dave Lloyd bolted. He had to go to sleep. He said 5 a.m. comes too soon, and I don't blame him. If he's got to get up at 5 a.m., I'm running way late for him. All right, we're going to use the next mesh again. I thought about using some, because I have some Clapton S mesh that actually comes, where is it at? Right here. It is wire optum. And I have, let's use this. I'm going to use this. Something a little bit different. It's not the Clapton S, but this is stainless steel. He said, I'm Dave. No, man, Dave's not here. Now, come on. There we go. So fragile. All right. This is from Wire Optum, and it is stainless steel mesh. I don't think it's hybrid. No, not hybrid. Stainless steel 316L. Should come out to 0.15. Go ahead, bend our mesh. Probably want to be super careful with this one, given that it's stainless steel. I think right there looks pretty good. Shoot the moon. It's the Dead Rabbit V2 airflow, so it should work. Yeah. This one having those spring-loaded clamps where they don't move around on you, it's easy to get it all set in there. You don't have to clamp down on one side and then kind of get it tight and finagle the other side in there. Again, when you're holding it down up top, well, as soon as I clamped it down, as soon as I started complimenting you, started being a bitch. But as you're holding down the mesh, you don't want to push down really at all. You're just kind of holding it in place. And it got it a little janky there, but I think, yeah, this one will fit in here. So now I'm happy. There we go. Looking good. Straight. I like it. I love this tool for mesh. This tool is almost worth buying the Hadron Dual Mesh RDTA, honestly. That and the experience of the Hadron Dual Mesh, because it is the warmest vape off of mesh I've ever come across, including the Profile PS. Thought you were putting a coil in this one. No, I'm going to, but I want to build this up with mesh, and then I'm going to look around after that and see if I can find a coil, but it was kind of all meant to be mesh mania, so we're definitely going to build all these up with mesh, and then if I got enough time at the end, I'm going to do the Hadron dual mesh. If we all still feel like hanging out till 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is, we'll put a coil in this. I'll see if I can find a 3.5 or 4mm ID coil, and we'll give it a go. But for now, I do want to do mesh with it. 0.16, not bad. Oh yeah. I like the look of that when it glows. I don't know why, but I do. All right. On this one, I don't think. All right, I'll let you guys decide. Should I do the crazy wicking method or just use like one of these with Tofo X fiber or whatever the hell it's called? I think it'll do good with my method, but might do pretty good with this X fiber cotton too. Oh, did I lose? Oh, I did. I dropped a few frames. Sorry about that. All right. I'm going to go with my method. Fuck it. That's what we've been doing this whole stream. Just going to keep going with it. And I hope that's long enough. I'm still losing frames? No, I'm not losing frames. What does... All right, now YouTube's saying I'm all right. half the time I think it's YouTube. Like nobody in my house is using internet. Everybody's asleep but me. Should be no drain on our internet connection. All right. There we go. Again, huge thing of cotton. And I'm also going to, I always cut it. Like, I'm not sure why everyone cuts it this way. I don't know. I don't know why. I cut it this. One thing I'll say is I think a lot of that came from Mr. Just Right One, because I've seen a lot of his early kind of building wicks where he cuts it like this, but then he twists it and flips it over to where the long side is on top. I think that step got lost in translation or something, because almost all instructions I've ever seen for mesh want you to cut it with the angle this way instead. All right, we are going to give it a little bit of a haircut down here. Neighbor's kid pirating my Wi-Fi. I guess they, if they're pirating my Wi-Fi, they need to, if they can pirate my Wi-Fi, then I'm telling you, they need to, somebody needs to come hire them. Because they're very good if they can pirate my Wi-Fi. All right, I'm going to kind of do this similar to the Profile X, basically because I just want to try it. Before, I kind of cut it this way and then clipped it a little more and just tucked it all down in there, and Bob's your uncle. But I'm going to kind of try this little more thinned out top strip. It's not quite like the Profile X, but it's more thinned out than I was doing with this atomizer before. I may have, I don't think I have too much cotton. We'll see. No, I don't think so. It easily moves around in there. It's not tight down in there, anything like that. Same on this side. It's plenty of room, plenty of space. And I'm pretty sure it is touching the base down there, but it's not bunched up or anything down in there. All right, there we go. Juice for this one. I think I'm gonna go commercial again. Let's use the Candy King's Lemon Drops. I've never tried it with this atomizer, so give it a go. One of the few commercial e-liquids that I really, really love is this one right here. The only one that essentially tastes like an actual lemon drop is more sugary than an actual lemon drop for sure, but it works. Crank this wattage up some. I like it when you're in a mood there chasing clouds. You just keep having that mood. Coastal Clouds Melonberry on Mesh. I'm gonna have to try it now that you keep talking about it. There's a nice crackle to it with that stainless steel mesh. Kind of one of those. I remember, I've probably said this before, been a few different reviewers that I've seen build mesh up and then complain that it has no crackle, and I don't know what they're talking about. I really don't. Because mesh always crackles like crazy. It scares the absolute shit out of my wife. She hates it when I build mesh up because it crackles so much it startles her. She already doesn't like coils too much if she's not ready for them. Mesh is even worse. All right, let's jump back up top, fill this bad boy up. It does have a quarter turn quick release. But check this out. This is one thing I don't like. Those are kind of small kidney holes for a tank of this size. All right. All right, filled up completely. Crank this wattage up some. Start out around 55. It seems like we always end up at 60, and I mean that's really, for my vaping preference with mesh, 60 watts is usually about where I end up. Usually ends up being a sweet spot, 60, 65, somewhere in there. We'll start out at 55, give the cotton a little bit of time to break in. All right, here we go. That was with the airflow wide open. I'm going to cut it down about 25%. Maybe I need to turn it down a little more. That was pretty cottony. Profile X method may not work on this. I'm gonna see if I'm getting any bubbles with the amount of cotton taste I'm getting. Let's see if I'm gonna see about lowering it even more, see what happens. That's pretty good. With it being that 0.16, I may have just had it up a little bit too much. Make sure it's not glowing when we fire it. No, I don't see any kind of glow, so there's no cotton collapse, which there shouldn't be. That was a huge thing of cotton. And I am getting bubbles, I can see them. I think maybe with this stainless steel, I just had it up a little too high wattage wise. Let's try 40 instead. See what this is rated for. It does not say. Let's try 40, see how it does. That's a lot better. I think I was just blowing it out as far as the wattage goes. That is really good flavor. And I like the look of this tank overall. And it's just kind of a nice clean look. We were talking about like too much logo though. So you got the dead rabbit with the M. And then you also have the Vapors Brazil logo on the back. I don't know. For me, that might be a little bit too much. I don't mind it so much, but it's definitely pushing it. I wouldn't have minded if they had like the dead rabbit M, and then maybe on the bottom underneath there, say Vapors Brazil, or somewhere up here kind of engraved, say Vapors Brazil. I think that might have been all right, because I understand wanting to give credit to the designers that Hell Vape worked with. And from what I hear, they did not screw over Vapors Brazil, so maybe Hell Vape has turned a corner. Chasing clouds, yeah, it's definitely crackly. Like I said, I never understand. Well, I guess I do, because it depends on the mesh. Something like the turbo mesh that Watofo has, which with those longer strips, there's pretty much the chill, turbo, extreme, and the S. The chill crackles like crazy because it's more like this one where there's kind of honeycomb space in between each portion of that mesh. The turbo is almost that perfect. It almost looks what I call punched mesh. It looks like just kind of a square press, just punched a bunch of holes in it. And that type of mesh doesn't seem to crackle near as much. I'm gonna catch some of these bubbles in the act. There we go. That's a big old bubble. Let me see if you guys can see this. Hang on. Now it's not gonna bubble on me. Yeah, it is. There it's going. Few bubbles. There we go. So yeah, it's wicked good. Flavor off of it is outstanding. I think I just had the wattage up a little too high. I'm gonna try 45 now. I've been vaping on it at 40. Let's try 45. Maybe this is not blowing it out. Yeah, that's pretty good. Still wicked good. Let's see about stainless steel. I never do temp control, but we're gonna give it a go. That is a super cool vape. One good thing with temp control on mesh is you can kind of control it so much that you're really not going to get dry hits off of it. Never been big on, let's try 45 watts with this. Never been big on temp control. And honestly, I don't know why, because with mesh, it makes perfect sense. And it's the one time with temp control that if someone's like, you know, the only time I ever do temp control is with mesh. Pretty much the only time I ever mess with it, like right here. So we've got it, 45 watts, 400 degrees, which I probably need to go up, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know, it's pretty good. It's definitely a cool vape. But I can go to 45 watts and not getting any cotton taste out of it. Let's try 50. Oh, come on. I hate this 0.1 watt increments. Definitely need to do a video going over the describe. So for one, it'll give me an excuse to do this, and two, it'll make me do it because I'll want to do the video. Oh yeah, that's really good. I'm gonna turn it, let's do 410 degrees. Yeah, that's really good. Now I've got it 50 watts, 410 degrees. Still really cool, but just cranked it up to 425. 400 is cool. I use 425. Haven't used temp control in 5-6 years. Yeah, I rarely, the only time I ever even play with it is if I've got some stainless steel mesh. That might be the sweet spot right there. 45 watts, 420 degrees. Still cool. I mean, it's mesh, so it's going to be cool, but it's even cooler than mesh normally is. Or you can do it at 400. Like I said, 400 degrees, 50 watts works good too. This is working nice. I'm actually really enjoying this with temp control. This will be the where I fall in love with temp control. Still wicking really good. I'm getting plenty of bubbles. Got no cotton taste. Only problem is with it being that cool, the lemon drops doesn't quite come across as well. I'm gonna go back to just wattage. Still really good, and the flavor off of it's a little bit better. I think I would have to probably pump it up to either leave it at that 425 or maybe go up a little bit more, 430, 435, somewhere around there. But it's fun to play with, and it's just even more control. You can get kind of that wattage, more vapor production, but it stays really cool if you want it to. Or I'm assuming you could do the reverse, real low, but crank the heat up. I like the Yeehee temp control better than DNA. Yeehee stayed the same. DNA seemed to overthink and keep adjusting cooler and cooler. I'm definitely going to play with it more, so I'll see if that ends up being the case here as well. I got DNA years back to mess with temp control, just never could find a sweet spot. That seems to be my issue right here, just playing with it in this little bit of time. No matter where I put it, it wasn't perfect. It was kind of cool to play with, and I liked the fact I could crank the wattage up even more, but keep the temperature down to where I wasn't getting any kind of cotton taste or anything like that. But overall, just kind of something fun to play with here and there. I still don't think it's necessarily going to be something I use on the regular. Yeah, it's wicking pretty good. I swear I think I could have thinned out that cotton a little bit. That's one thing. Have not done at all on any of these is really thin it out or even brush it out. Normally I don't really do that too much with mesh. The only time I will do it is to kind of get those scissor clumps where you cut the cotton and it kind of gets all clumped together, which is kind of a little hard piece. I will brush those out. Didn't do it here with any of these because I didn't really get any of those from cutting it with the scissors, at least nothing too crazy. And with like the profile RDTA and RDA setup, it's squonk. So for the most part, the wicks that are in the wick well are almost just, I don't know, it's almost just aesthetic. You don't really need them. That is way more cheesy now. Like the cheesecake flavor is definitely coming through big time now. Do your method 100%. I mean, I did for all these. I just didn't I didn't really thin the cotton out too much. Now with like the Profile X, I don't do that either. I never, hardly ever thin the cotton out. Basically because you have to do minor surgery to the damn thing to get it to wick just right. But with this one, I think I could have thinned that cotton out and it probably would have wicked even better. But I mean, really it's wicking pretty damn good. Flavor off of it's good. I still think you could definitely do a 3.5 millimeter ID coil in this. In order to do that, we're going to either vape down or dump the liquid. I think I might save that for the next time we build this up. I like doing these kind of themed build sessions where, you know, kind of do all RTAs. We did the 28 millimeters. Now we're doing nothing but mesh. Would not mind doing one that is, you know, maybe all 25, 24 millimeter RTAs, and then bust this one out and stick a coil in it. As that cotton's breaking in too, that flavor punches up more and more. Just like with this one here, the strawberry whipped cheesecake is now coming through extremely well. A lot better than I assumed it would, being mesh and it being a bakery e-liquid. But yeah, it's really good. I'm really shocked by that. All right. So we could take a look. What's the time? It's 1 a.m. We started at 11. 2 hours in. People are still here. Everyone's still up. Let's do the Hadron dual mesh. Why not? Do you have another dead rabbit? Build the other with the coil and compare them. Got the dead rabbit 3 RTA sitting around here, but it's all built up and on a mech. Kind of want to keep this one all mesh. Saw someone split each side in two, making an X shape. Cut off the bottom of the X's. Huh. All right. Here is the Hadron dual mesh. What do they call it? Dual mesh power machine. Hadron mesh RDTA. I really dig this one as far as a dual mesh. Like the profile PS is probably the one profile RDA or just atomizer in general that I really don't like. Just not big on it. These are not spring loaded. Really kind of have to back these screws out relatively far to get it to open up decently. What I will say about this one is it is definitely a warmer. I mean, it should be. You got two mesh strips. Should be warmer. .28mm. This is 30, I do believe. Let me double check, but pretty sure this one's 30. Does not say on there. Yeah, I'm almost positive it's 30. Sorry, just checking. Yeah, 30mm. Then yeah, it's a big bastard. We're gonna use the next mesh instead of the stainless steel. This next mesh I have a ton of too, but nowhere near as much as I do of the extreme mesh. Lost a little mesh strip. There we go. Sorry, trying to keep those off camera just because they have URLs all over them. The fat bastard dry hit. You don't cram mass cotton in there. Yeah. And our mesh. The usual deal. Same thing we've been doing all night. Just rinse and fucking repeat. And we're definitely going to thick wick this bastard. The first time I built it up, I just used one of these X-Fiber cotton strips, which, you know, to their credit, they look pretty damn fat, right? But after less than a day, cotton collapse galore. I was pretty upset about that one. I feel like I just waste cotton. One thing with this one is trying to keep these mesh strips, even as far as you want them completely level. Like that's actually not perfectly level. That's better. Because if it's slanted to the side even just a little bit and say the other one is just perfect, it will glow on one side even after you wick it. Like the cotton will fall away from it or not press up against it enough because it's being pushed down by the other one that's perfect. So that one that's slightly off, whatever side that is coming up a little bit more, will mess up everything. So I like this one, but it's a little finicky to mess with. I think that looks pretty damn good right there. I don't know what you guys think, but Yeah, I think that looks good. Make sure these are all tight down. I don't know why all mesh clamp screws are Phillips head, but they seem to be, except for that Ponte. 0.23, which about that. Turn this down, all kinds. We'll see how it does. Blowing nice and even. That's kind of one thing you'll see too with this one. The PS had the same kind of issue where sometimes when you'd install them, one would kind of glow to that white hot or yellow quicker than the other, and you would have to sit there and mess with it till you got both of them glowing evenly every single time. But it's kind of easier than coils because really you're just unclamping it, adjusting the strip a little bit, clamping it back down, give it another try. All right, grab some cotton. Show you guys the top cap to this one if you haven't already seen it. Plenty of airflow up there, and it is kind of a compressed chamber with that airflow slanted downwards. This thing actually has really, really good flavor, even for mesh. And I was a little surprised by that, just given its size. All right, go ahead. Get our big bastard wick ready to go. I think I'm gonna try the ice cream flavor with this one. It's either that, my Twinkie recipe, or I think that one is my strawberry custard, strawberry overdose custard. One of those. So you guys can pick vanilla sex ice cream, Twinkie, or strawberry overdose custard. Actual fire in my mouth is not a good flavor. No, not at all. Now this one does not have like a spring-loaded deck. So to kind of get this through here is even more finicky. Never had a mesh deck. I live vicariously through you all. That's me with Boros. I live vicariously through Bogan and Nick. I watch them build this stuff that I'm just like, there's no way I'm going to like that, but let's see what they think. Come on. That is not working for me. Twinkie sounds good. Strawberry overdose custard, Twinkie. Like Twinkie might win out. Probably Twinkie since you know it the best. No, I probably know that vanilla sex ice cream better than Twinkie, but. And Sarn, what's up, brother? Did you ever find a buyer for your mech there, Sarn? This may not work for this one, honestly. I know I've done it once before, but now I'm starting to wonder how. All right, this might do it. There we go. Finally, success. Sorry, camera. A little bit more of a haircut there. Just being finicky with my wicks now, even though this one I'm gonna be dripping, so here we go. All right. Looks like Twinkie probably won. Just oversaturated to the max. Haven't sold your side by side yet, but you sold a different one just earlier tonight. Nice. What cotton? I'm using the Amoza cotton here. All right, let's do Twinkie. Crank my wattage up a little bit here. I believe this was the RDA actually cranked up to like over 100 being mesh, and it did just fine. And I tried to get Apathy Miller to try it because he's very much a low resistance series kind of guy. And not huge on mesh at all. Yeah, with this one being that it's kind of the compressed chamber, just really want to kind of line it up. And then press it down. That's it. Looks really good on the Hadron Plus, given, you know, the Steam Crave Addy. So, of course, it looks good on this at least. All right, let's jump back up top. I will drip a little bit more in this. Go ahead, crank our wattage way up from what we had it. Start out about where we started out with all these, 55. There we go. Too much airflow. Okay. This has, let me show you guys this real quick if you don't know. It has 2-layer airflow right here. You can of course cut it down. But it also, this whole thing will completely turn and you can do just 1 row of airflow and then of course cut it down as you choose. So that's kind of cool. I think that'll be good. Definitely gonna jack this wattage up because 55 just was not anywhere close. Let's go all the way up to 70 and see how it does. I'm gonna drip a little more before I do that. It does really good. What cotton are you using most of? What? How is that with dripping? Seems like there's no juice well, really. There's really not. But you have so much cotton that it's just going to get saturated up in there. And just the top cap itself kind of adds a little bit extra space, but really not by much. Basically, I've been dripping on it just like I would any other mesh RDA. I don't really worry about it so much. It doesn't leak. As long as I don't take that top cap off. If you drip on it kind of heavy, don't take the top cap off because it's just going to run out the sides if it's too much liquid. But it does not have much of a wick well or juice well there. But it still works pretty damn good. The other thing too, this is really made for higher wattages. Even 70 watts is nowhere close to enough. I'll try 85, but yeah. Siren, yeah, it just slurps it up. That's pretty damn good. I'm gonna go to the single slit airflow. Definitely gets warmer, but it is not what I'm looking for here. That's pretty damn good. Kind of hard to see. There we go. Jason Cloud says, someday I hope to get a chance to design an RTA. I have an incredible idea for an innovative AFC that's never been done and probably never will be unless I share my idea. And just do it up in do it up in some CAD software, AutoCAD, FreeCAD, whatever, what, and then send it out to vape companies. See if anybody picks it up. This is vaping amazing. Flavor is great. Definitely the warmest mesh vape I've ever come across. Let's just jack it up even more. Let's do 95. All right, 95 watts. Definitely a cloud chucker, but it has amazing flavor. I really like this one. I just rarely ever break it out. This is maybe the third time I think I've busted this out since getting it. Kind of had it where I tested it and then did the review for it, and then built it up maybe a month or so later. And then since then, this is probably the third time. Need some help with CAD, you know nothing about it? Yeah. It's definitely, it's something you got to take time to learn, and I'm not very good with it. That is one thing that I definitely need to get better with, because I have several ideas. I have a couple of them when CAD files all done up, but a few other ones are a little more intricate, I guess, and I definitely need to get better with. I always use FreeCAD because I'm an open source guy, so need to get better with FreeCAD. Yeah, this is working great. Take a look at it again. Looking fine. No glowing spots. That was one thing. Whole Vaporworks lab just got lit up with nothing but vapor. One thing, when I wicked this up standard, like I said, it very, very quickly had cotton collapse. And then if you get those mesh strips off from each other, even in the slightest, it's going to glow on you pretty damn quick. I got lucky this time because normally I have to sit there and kind of futz and fumble around with it until I get both of those mesh strips completely straight, then feed the cotton through. Using the kind of crazy, insane wicking method that I do, it could probably be a little off because it's just so much cotton. It's, you know. But yeah, no juice wells really doesn't seem to hurt this. It's just so much cotton and so much space that it just sucks it right up. We can see how high we can take it. I don't remember what I got up to last time. I know it was at least 110, so let's try that and see how it does. All right. Man. So much vapor. This thing is definitely cloudy. All right, 110. Everybody, cross your fingers. Say a prayer for me. Might die. Nope, didn't die. And yeah, I am going to set off the smoke alarm here before too long. But yeah, it's vaping great. Even at 110, we could probably go higher. Try 120. Actually, I think I got up to 125 now that I'm thinking back on the review. And that was pretty much the max. But let's try 120. Here we go. Doing great. There was a little bit of cotton. It's definitely eating through that liquid really fast at 120. Yeah, I'd say if we pumped it up to 125, it's going to probably vaporize that liquid quicker than the pull I'm going to take. So I'd probably get cotton taste basically every single pull. But yeah, because it's so foggy, I'm going to wait just a little bit. Keep it juicy. Hey man, I live by that right there. Keep it juicy. All right, what else is everybody getting into? I don't really have anything else to build up. About to call it. We're at what, 2.5 hours? One of the longer live streams I've ever done. I had a ball with this one though. I really like mesh. I know some of you guys are kind of love-hate with it, but you stuck around, hung out, saw my insane wiki method, what, 5 times? Yeah, 5 times. If you don't have it down now, I don't know what. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, this one is actually a lot better than I think I probably gave it credit for in the review, honestly. But it's one of those that I don't know, busted out here and there, but not one I would ever use on the daily or anything like that. But this right here, the profile RDTA and RDA setup, I really dig. And this strawberry whipped cheesecake's coming through amazing on it. Squonk's great on this thing. Yeah, I'm getting everything in this cheesecake now. Graham crust, strawberry, cheesecake, whipped creams, all coming through. Oh, did I drop more frames? Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. OBS says everything's fine. I don't know about YouTube though. All right. Well, I think that's probably my cue to exit there. You guys have been awesome just kind of hanging out, watching me mess with a ton of different mesh. Hopefully, maybe you saw atomizer that you would like to check out. Maybe wick jump that you'd like to check out. I would definitely recommend Profile RDTA. I think it's one of the greatest atomizers ever made. Ponte, my favorite Boro bridge, pretty much ever. And I think Boro bridges are really tailor-made for it. Chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All right, guys. It looks like YouTube's about to kick me anyway, apparently, although I haven't dropped any more frames or anything like that. Kilobytes per second are good. Still says I'm at 60 frames a second. Maybe it's YouTube. I don't know. Dude, do a live that's all regular coils for mesh decks. Hey, that sounds pretty interesting, and that's definitely themed. I'd say I could do that. I would like to try the 3.5 millimeter ID coil in the Dead Rabbit M. So yeah, say we can do that. But you guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Not sure what we're gonna do next Wednesday. I haven't really thought about it, but it's definitely going to be a mixing stream. So may kind of, I don't know. I'll probably do recipe that I've been working on that I haven't published, see what you guys think about it, and then mix up a few other people's recipes, vape on them, tell you what I think about those, and we'll just kind of go from there. But after that, I think Wednesday's going to stay nothing but build streams, and then I'm going to try and do live mixing kind of in the afternoon. I'll figure out a day that'll work good to do that, but it's probably going to be a Monday or Tuesday. And then, yeah, just keep rolling like that. There'll be a lot more live reviews because I really dug doing that. So I'm going to try and have a lot more live content. So glad you guys came out. Appreciate it very much. Vape on, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.